Hello and welcome to the third ever episode of the Aura Effect Podcast. My name is David. I'll be your host. Today we're joined by Charleston Pain of Tales from Tigerland.
Yes, sir.
And before we get into that, I wanted to give a sincere thank you to Jacob Grash, Barrett Blondo, and Falaya Real Estate for hosting us here in the Falaya Focus Podcast studio. If you're looking to sell your house, do it quickly and make a bunch of money, save a bunch of money while doing it. Check out Falaya, talk to these guys. They'll hook you up and get you all right. And without further ado, Charleston Pain, good to have you, man.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure to be here. Absolutely, man. I've been looking forward to it since Cash told me about it.
Likewise,
since
yeah.
Talked to you, you know.
Yeah, so Cash referred us to you. Said that you'd be a good person to talk to. Maybe you got some cool stories to talk about.
Yeah, man.
I'll let you kind of take over. Who are you? Kind of tell me about what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Charleston Pain. I host Tales from Tigerland Podcast, and what we do, we're unscripted, just get to the point show. We just talk about whatever. We've had some pretty incredible guests so far, and we got some great guests to come. And man, I just love doing podcasts. It's something I've enjoyed for a long time now. We started it. I had an old podcast in high school, and then moved up in the world, got to college, and I was like, you know what? I want to do things a little different now. Started a new podcast, got Tales from Tigerland. Got a couple good sponsors. Big shout out to Bogies. They sponsor us. They've been great to us, man. I mean, I can't thank them enough for everything that they've done, but yeah, I mean, that's where we started at, you know?
That's awesome. That's awesome. And y'all are on y'all's third season, correct?
Third season.
Wrapping up the third season.
Fourth episode coming up. Should be
gotcha.
this week. Yeah, man, we've had a couple of good guests so far. We had the Balcony Bengals this season. We've had
all things LSU, right?
Yeah, all things LSU for the most part, you know. And then we have musicians, rappers, that type of thing. We've been trying to get a little country music on the scene, but we just haven't had a lot of luck with that. I mean, the local rappers and stuff like that, though, it's been great having some of those guys on. They've got some interesting stories to tell.
Yeah, they do, man. Cash was a phenomenal guest.
Yeah, we had
he
Cash as
freestyled
well.
and everything.
He did it for us too. He was awesome.
Right off the top, right off
Cash
the
is
dome. I had
great.
nothing to say at the end. I was like, I'm just gonna shut up and hang up the mic.
Yeah,
But
man. Absolutely. Cash is a great guest to have. I mean, I
Yeah.
listened to y'all's episode. I finished listening to it
word?
right before I came in.
Okay,
I finished listening to it. I got to the end. I got to see the freestyle with the beat, and then he freestyled without the beat.
He was like, all right, let me do it one more time.
Man, that was crazy. That was good.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so you were telling me y'all started off you started a podcast in high school, and then you took a break, right?
Yeah.
Kind of had like the idea for it,
Yeah, and then started this new podcast, Tales from Tigerland.
and you're sort of coordinating the seasons with your semesters. I like that.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Right. And so far with each season, we've had bigger guests, and we're about to have some pretty big guests coming up in the next couple of months, and I'm really excited about.
Can you talk about that or no?
I'm not going to say their names, but I will say they're a bunch of former athletes at LSU.
Nice.
And they're pretty big names, and I'm super excited to have them on. I got to
Hell
meet the
yeah,
guys
dude.
and stuff. Great people.
Yeah.
Great people,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Man, a lot of that's, you know, the more I stick around in Baton Rouge, the more I realize that it's like the people that makes me stay here. So I guess I just want to kind of ask you about how you got started. You were telling me before we went live that you were initially planning to buy a PS5. You had some
Right.
cash. You were wanting to buy a PS5.
Right. I mean, I was a typical high school student. You know, I had my first job, had money, didn't know what to do with it. PS5 dropped. I was like, I want it.
Yeah.
Got in line. They only released a certain number to each store. Didn't get it. So I was like, I got the money. I don't know what I want to do with it.
Yeah.
So called my buddy up. We started a podcast in high school my junior year, and then it ended my senior year because I had some personal things going on. Got to college, met a few new friends. Idea came through. We talked about it for a while. We went and picked up the microphone, sat on the idea for about a month, and we made it happen.
Yeah.
Got the logo purchased, all that type of stuff in that time, you know, and it's been going good for us since then.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And so, I mean, doing a podcast is sort of like a business,
Right.
You know, you're managing guests, you're producing the content, editing it, publicizing it, trying to grow your audience. Could you talk a little bit about what that has looked like and how it has changed as like you said, you've gotten bigger guests, you've gotten a larger audience. What has changed? Have you changed the way that you speak? Have you changed What's changed?
I mean, I would say just getting out and interacting more with people, interacting more with the people we want as guests.
Yeah.
You know, and then like in between, like I said before, we're sponsored by Bogies. So I like to have the Bogies bartenders come on the show and like the people that work at Bogies just to tell their story. Cause I mean, they're college kids too, and they got great stories to tell. And we don't want those to go unheard.
Yeah.
Basically. But yeah, man, I mean, just getting the bigger guests and stuff, it was just all networking, you know. Either I knew somebody that knew that person or knew somebody that knew somebody that knew that person, or I directly knew that person, you know, and then just from there, it's just making all the right moves and making it happen, really.
Yeah. So I'm new to podcasting. This is only the third episode I've ever done. I've kind of done a few little audio interviews in the past for my first startup, but this is the first time I've actually gotten in the chair, you know, had a guest, ran through it. I want your advice. What have you learned about podcasting? What did you do that sucked at first? What did y'all do that didn't work? And then what did y'all figure out that worked?
So what doesn't work that I found is just not getting to know your guest before the episode. I like to ask my guest questions before the episode starts. Not anything too deep, but just be like, hey, how do you feel about this? Is it okay if we talk about this? That type of thing. And then just be yourself. Yeah. That's the number one thing. Be you. You got nobody you're in competition with more than yourself every day, you know? And there's no doubt about that. Every day I look in the mirror and I'm like, man, you got to do this. You got to power through. You got this. I mean, you got this thing in your hands. You're right there. You got this podcast going. I mean, just be you. Yeah. That's the best thing that you could do.
Yeah. And you're talking about letting it flow a little bit more so than just having a scripted start to finish.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We the way we do things is we just we sit down and we start the conversation a little bit, and like we get in and I'm like checking the mics, making sure everything sounds good, you know. And once I got everything sounding good, I'll look up and I'll be like, okay, conversation's flowing this way. Let's wait till the next question comes in, and I'll just click record randomly. Without telling anybody. And then we'll get about a minute or two in, and I'll pick up my phone and I'll like get on Snapchat and type live now, and then just pick it up, show it to everybody, you know. And then
that's great. I mean, that's when we were just chatting, I was like, man, I wish the cameras were rolling now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's how I always felt about the old podcast. And when I started this one, I was like, I don't think I want to miss out on those moments, because that's like some of the best talk I feel like happens before it, and then like I don't remember, like as a host, I don't remember to ask the same question that I asked,
right? Or
maybe I don't get the same answer that happened before the podcast.
And even the energy's a little different because you're not thinking about it, you know?
Right? Absolutely.
I'm trying to sort of. That's what I've been working on, is like trying to forget that I'm even on it. You know, forgetting that I'm on record.
I mean, what I struggled with when I first started the podcast in high school was I was like, oh my God, man, anybody in the world could hear my voice if they wanted to. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple. I'm so nervous. And then, eventually I was just like, okay, this is what you do. Yeah. Lock in. When it's time to go, it's go time. You know?
Yeah. No, it's super interesting. It's a interesting, because you go about your day talking to people, being yourself, but as soon as the record hits, you're like, okay, this is a little different.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Now it's on the internet permanently.
And then, with the guests and stuff, as you have guests on and as you get bigger guests, just doing like your own research. You don't have to do a ton of research, but like just take, if you have like a big guest, obviously they got a name like Wikipedia is attached to, that type of stuff or something like that. Go find them, go like something interesting that like if they've been on a podcast before, you haven't heard somebody else talk about.
Yeah.
And if you could do that, then that's a big piece in it.
Yeah.
If you could just fill in the missing pieces that other people that have had those guests on before missed out on.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of Patty G is how I knew about this show, and I've been shamelessly stealing figuring out what he does that works and doing that, just copying. Right. Okay. Well, so y'all do Tales from Tigerland. What's that all about?
Man, it's just, we originally started, we didn't really know what we wanted to do with it. Yeah. We knew we wanted to be different, like unscripted, just chill out, talk, have our guests on, make sure our guests feel like they have a good time on the show. And then over time, it just moved into being like, okay, we got the sponsorship from Bogies. Let's start doing stuff with Tales from Tigerland. Let's have the bartenders on, or maybe the bar backs or the door guys or whoever's got a story that, because I mean,
everybody has
a story.
Yeah.
And especially if you're a college kid working in a bar, or if you're a college kid that goes to the bars a lot, it's like you've seen something for sure that you want to talk about.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of whether or not it's appropriate to talk about live on air, because I've heard quite a few things like we talked about before the show.
100%.
I've heard quite a few things in person, you know, talking to people that are like, yeah, man, I would love to come on your podcast. And then they kind of like say some stuff and they're like, yeah, I'd definitely talk about that. And I'm like,
maybe not.
But I mean, as far as like your guest and the way you line them up and stuff, it's the biggest thing I find is making sure time works out for you and your guest and stuff like that as well.
What's the length of time y'all normally do a podcast for?
Really, it varies. I mean, like, it feels like also another variable in it is if we're at Bogies, we usually get there at 6:45 and start recording then, and then we end at 8 because that's when the bar opens. So we'll do that, and that only gives us that amount of time. But other than that, if the conversation's flowing, we'll keep recording. I don't like to go over probably an hour and 10 though, typically.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like, I feel like people kind of stop listening after like 55 minutes, because that's what typically like my analytics shows.
Interesting.
It's like after about 55 minutes to an hour, they kind of, it's not bad, but it starts to drop there.
Check out.
Like, yeah.
And that's when you want to like kind of wrap things up and do like the cool, you know, I feel like the beginning of the podcast and the ending of the podcast are like some of the times where you can really hit good questions and kind of lock everybody in.
Right.
And if they're checked out, then you lose that whole last 5-10 minutes, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with our show, usually like if we have a rapper, the last 5-10 minutes is the best part, because that's when we hit the freestyle, just like y'all did with Cash.
Right.
It's if we have a rapper on, that's when we get to that's the beef of the podcast. That's what we want the people to listen to, and they drop off like right as it's coming. And I'm like, man.
So like we just got to shorten that down a little bit so they don't drop off till.
Yeah, absolutely. But then, I mean, I don't know if we shortened it down, would they stop listening 5 minutes before it ended at 40 minutes, you know?
Interesting.
So it's just like, do they just not want to listen to the last 5 minutes, or
is it their time frame is 50? Yeah.
Right, because every episode we've done has really been a different length of time. You know, like we've had one that went for an hour and 15, and then we've also had one, our trailer episode was obviously the shortest. It was like 22, and then our second episode we did was like less than 40 minutes, and that was the shortest one. But we also, like I said, went for an hour and 15, and both of those were really good episodes. It's just like once you feel like the points are just kind of flowing out, you just, you know, you
kind of roll with it.
Yeah, you roll with it and cut it, you know.
Yeah. So the title of y'all's podcast is Tales from Tigerland. I myself feel like I have a bunch of tales from Tigerland. So y'all just have a wealth of content. I mean, like one night in Tigerland is really all you need for a season of podcasts. If you were to talk to enough people.
Absolutely.
You know?
There is no doubt about that. Tigerland is a crazy place.
Crazy place.
Tigerland is a crazy place. And, you know, it's actually funny because we got the name Tales from Tigerland because I lived in Tigerland when we started the podcast.
Also a gnarly place to live.
Yes, very, very much so. But we made it out and got a new apartment.
Happy for you.
I moved there because there was really no place left for me to go because a hurricane hit where I was from. And I was like, okay, I've got no power. I got to go somewhere so I got to do schoolwork and this and this and this. And
cheap rent.
Got around cheap rent. I was like, all right, we're going to do it.
Close to the bar?
Right next to the bar.
Did y'all walk home?
Oh, walk there and walk home.
Yeah.
It's like, it's right there, like 5-minute walk, probably about 15 minutes tumble back. That's what I like. That's what I used to joke around about all the time, but that's how it was, man. It was.
Find your way back.
Yeah, it was good times then. And then like we had my buddy, we moved to a new place and he left the bar one night walking and he walked to the old apartment, like almost all the way there. And one of our other friends found him. And he was like, what? He had no idea he was even going to the wrong place. I was like, dude, we don't live there no more, bro.
He just did he take a nap on the side?
I've done it before.
Yeah.
I've done it before. I can't even lie.
No comment.
Oh, man. But Tigerland's definitely a crazy place.
Yeah.
You can get a ton of tales from Tigerland just from one night there.
Man, so that makes me want to ask, what are some of, I guess, I don't know if I want to ask about the the best guests y'all have had or the best stories, but answer that however you want.
So I wouldn't really say one guest has been better than any of the others because, I mean, each episode we've done has been unique in its own way. And I think each episode we've done has been pretty good in its own way, you know, and all of our guests have been great. I mean, we've had Tanner Deeds, a bartender that was at Bogies. He graduated last year, so he moved off, but it was great having Tanner on. Tanner was an awesome guest. 3 Times Co. He's a rapper from New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and great having him on. Super cool guy, down to earth. Bo Capone, great guest. I mean, the list goes on. Everybody I name has been a really good guest to have. But best moment on the podcast is also really hard to narrow it down to. I mean, like I said, each episode has just had its own thing, but I would probably say the best moment is probably every rapper we've had on the freestyle at the end.
Yeah.
Because each freestyle is different in its own way as well. And like with Cash and with 3 Times Co, we've done 2 freestyles for each of those episodes, I believe.
Okay.
And
yeah,
2 totally different type beats, 2 totally different the way that they rap, their lyrics, very different, and it's just awesome to hear it firsthand and just be there, you know?
Just like to witness in real time.
Right.
Someone who's just extremely creative.
I remember
mind-blowing.
The first time it happened for us, we had 3 Times Co on, and I was shaking, man. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, that is the coolest thing I ever witnessed in my life. Like, I've been to concerts, I've done all this stuff. I was like, but man, that is like he just thought about, like, he thought of all that stuff right in front of my face. Like sitting
live
right
with
next
the
to me.
cameras and the mic too.
Right.
Yeah.
And I even like Instagram lived it the first time and stuff. Like, I was so excited, man. I was stoked. It was crazy.
That's funny you said, like, after Cash did it, I was like, I had goosebumps. I was like, man, I wish I was that talented.
Oh yeah, that's how I felt. And then I was like, man, maybe I should try it one day.
Yeah. Hey, you want to try it?
It don't work. It don't work. I'm not that good. I'll leave it up to Cash.
I'll get like
guys.
2 or 3 bars in the shower.
Oh, absolutely. That's when I'm best.
Yeah.
That's when I'm best.
And I get like 3 of them. I'm like, oh, that was so good.
If I had a microphone in the shower, it'd be over. Nah, man. I'm all jokes. All jokes.
All jokes. Man, so we talked about the beginning of the podcast. Talked about some of the story. We hadn't talked about the stories. What are some crazy stories either that you've had in Tigerland or that your guests have explained?
So a crazy story I've had in Tigerland for certain would probably be one of my co-hosts was with me at Reggie's one night, and they had a fight break out, and one of the bouncers was getting punched by the dude that was fighting. So my co-host, Cross, goes up to the bouncer and is like trying to pull the bouncer back to like help him out, and the bouncer just starts throwing punches at my boy. And, like, kicks him out. And I was like, wait, what? Like, he wasn't involved in the fight in any way at all. Nothing. Like,
there's no rules.
And then just out of nowhere, it's just like, bang, he's getting punched and getting kicked out. I was like, all right, then. We left the bar at that point.
Those bartenders the bouncers got a license to kill.
Yeah.
They just, like, can do whatever they want.
One night I'm out there, and one of my buddies that came down, and it was, like, his second time going to Reggie's. So... He had a knee surgery. Like, he tore his ACL.
Can't go to
Reggie's
with an
couldn't
ACL.
hardly walk at all. None of that stuff. He's on crutches still, and we're in Reggie's. I leave the bar. He's still in. He's still trying to maneuver his way out the door with crutches and a torn ACL, still in a brace and everything, you know. And while he's maneuvering his way out, all of a sudden I see this guy go up to a bouncer, and he's like, F you, man, and, like, swings and misses. And then a bouncer just throws him as hard as he can, and the dude lands on my boots all the way at, like, the front of the gate. And I was like, okay. That's what the Reggie's bouncers do. Yeah. And then I'm in Reggie's again one night. I mean, every tale from Tigerland I got comes from Reggie's, definitely. Reggie's is
a dirty, fun place.
It's fun. It's fun. There's no doubt about it. But, like, one night I'm in there, this dude comes up, sneaks me out of nowhere. And one of my homeboys that was a bouncer in there goes, hey, calm down. Keep drinking. Do what you got to do. He's like, look, here's the deal. I'll take care of it. I won't go to jail. You take care of it. You go to jail. I was like, all right, bet. He grabs the dude, slams him in the asphalt, and just starts wham, wham, wham. I'm like, all right, I didn't see nothing.
Yeah.
Turned around and just
Them's the
went back
rules.
to what I was doing.
Them's the rules in Tigerland.
Yeah, the bouncers can get away with whatever. But I mean, some of the kids in there really do give them trouble.
Absolutely. I think that they should kind of have that free reign a little bit because people come in all different type of stuff going on. Like, people come in who are 30 years old. People come in there who are, the scary part is sometimes they get in there who are younger than, like, young people get in too.
Like, no doubt. It's crazy.
So they got to be, they got to kind of be a little bit vigilante-esque,
Yeah, I was in Reggie's one time, and, like, I go to lean up on the bar to get a drink, and there's a guy next to me. He goes, "Don't get that close to me. I'm famous." I'm like, what? Like, what? What does he mean by that? And he was for real about it. Like, he told me to step away. Like, I had to go to another bar.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm famous. Don't get by me."
Did you figure out what
I have no idea who he is to this day.
Yeah.
Been trying to figure it out. I was asking the bartender, I was like, "You know that guy?" He's like, "No." I have no idea who he is. Never seen him in my life.
But if someone says that to you in Tigerland, it's like, do you want to fight, or do you want to not get beat up? Do you want to not deal with an altercation on a nice Saturday?
No, yeah, like, game days are the worst, because that's when everybody's been drunk all day, and then they go to the bar at night, and it just gets worse. Like, I was there one game day, and a guy comes up to me, and he, like, grabs me by my jersey. He's like, "Hey, somebody in a Odell Beckham Jr. jersey just came up, spit in my brother's face." I was like, "I didn't spit in your brother's face."
There's like 100 people.
I was like, "Dude, everybody in here is wearing an Odell jersey of blue jeans right now. Like, I didn't spit in your brother's face, though." He's like, oh yeah." And then one of my boys comes up, he's pushing him back. He's like, "Hey, you want to talk to him like that? You got to talk to me first." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Oh, my bad, dude, my bad." And dabs us up and leaves the bar. Just left.
Those are always the fun interactions where it's like, you think you're about to, like, get your head stomped, and then, like, you end up just dapping out later.
I mean, yeah, it's Tigerland. You never know what to expect. That's for certain.
I had one of my first jobs in college, was managing a food truck. My buddy Ed had a food truck called Snow Chicken. It was the first food truck in Tigerland outside of the house. Had a little deal with Jeff. We're paying some like $400 or $500 to put our truck there, and man, I had some tales. Like, I still think about some of those crazy nights.
Oh,
absolutely wild. You got I had a full. I could see the whole, like, the front. I could see all the way across, like, to Fred's, and then I could see the whole parking lot of the house. I remember one time there was a girl who came in who was probably drunk, and she literally tried to. We had the fryer on the back end of the. We had the fryer on the back end of the truck, and she climbed over, and she was about, I would say, like, less than a foot away from putting her entire leg in our deep fryer. Like, she had 1 foot over the thing, and, like, if I had not looked, she would have stepped straight into the deep fryer and deep fried her leg. But that was just like one night. Many. I'm
like lost words on that one.
Yeah.
But, like, it. Yeah. No doubt about it, that happened. Like, there's no doubt it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Tigerland. Every night's different.
Every night. Man, how often do you frequent Tigerland these days?
Nowadays with the sponsorship from Bogies, it's not quite as often, but I mean,
that's right, because Bogies isn't exactly Tigerland.
It's not necessarily in Tigerland, but I mean, it's kind of one of, like, the OG bars out there, and one of the OG college bars. And like I said a few times already, they've been so good to us, man. Yeah. Getting us guests, hooking us up with people.
I imagine y'all get some free drinks every now and then.
Here and there, occasionally, yeah. But yeah, man, Bogies has been really good to us, and that kind of slowed down the going to Tigerland a little bit. But, like, I'll go probably, I'd say, once every 2 months.
Yeah. Now. Man, I had one other question that reminds me. Can you talk about, because I the type of person that I admire the most is someone who can do both, kind of live, like, a little bit crazy, live on the edge.
Right.
But also, you're a mechanical engineering student.
Right.
So you're doing Tales from Tigerland, going to Tigerland, simultaneously trying to lock down an engineering degree, mechanical engineering degree at that.
It's complicated. Engineering in itself without Tales from Tigerland or Tigerland would be very hard.
Yeah.
Either way. If that's the only thing I did with my entire time in college, I feel like it'd still be just like a slap in the face every morning. Because, like, that's almost the way, like, I enjoy it, and, like, it's something I want to do. But, like, at the same time, though, it's a lot. Yeah. It is a lot, man.
2 years ago, right?
2 years ago.
2 years.
Hopefully, if all goes well.
Yeah.
With thermodynamics and stuff like that.
Well, seriously, best of luck to you. I do not miss it at all, especially, like, some of those cut classes like organic.
No.
Your version of thermo. assume. Cool. Well, before we cut out, I wanted to just ask a few questions, kind of give you the floor to answer a couple of things. My first question, what is something that people often misunderstand either about you or about what you do?
So we talked about this like a little bit before we started, a little bit, and I touched base on it. And I feel like the main thing people misunderstand about me and my guys at Tales from Tigerland is we're approachable people, and like we want to be approachable people. Like if you see us, come say hello. Like if you listen to our podcast, say what's up. Tell us what you think about it. I mean, I take any piece of advice I get, you know, so if somebody tells me I'm doing this wrong, I'll listen to them and maybe try to tweak it a little bit in the next episode. Or if somebody tells me I'm doing this right, keep doing that, you're in the nail on the head, I'll stick with it. You know, I try to take everybody's advice, but I just want people to think I'm more approachable than as well as my two guys I have with me. We all are as a team, you know. And yeah, man, just come up to us, talk to us. You got a question, ask us. I mean, we're just people too, basically. Is the main thing I'm getting at. Is because I mean, I've had people come up to me like already, even though like we're only 3 seasons in, they like seem as though they look up to me in a sense. And like I don't have a problem with that, but like at the same time though, like I tell everybody like, hey, I'm just a person just like you. Like we're just
got a couple microphones.
Yeah, I just got a couple microphones.
Yeah.
And I mean, people like that, they'll come up to me, hey man, I'd love to hang out with you guys one day, or like maybe get a shot with you guys at Bogies. Like, yeah, come through. I mean,
yeah,
do it. I mean, absolutely, man. We're all friendly people for the most part.
Y'all heard that.
I mean, I try to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I do my best. I try to be as approachable as I can. I try to be as friendly as I can to everybody. I mean, some people you can't really be exactly friendly to because they're not the most friendly back. Yeah. It happens that way, but I try to be approachable.
In Tigerland every now and then. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely in Tigerland. The Reggie's bouncers or any of the bar bouncers if you're not cool with them. Like I was in Tigerland one night and a guy just shoved me like one of the bouncers. Because like
for shits and giggles.
he's like, it's late, like we're closed, you can't get in. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, all right, I don't mean any issues with you, bro. I was like, I dapped him up. I was like, we're cool, huh? He's like, yeah. I turn around and he shoves me in the back. And I was like, oh, all right. That's what just happened. And like I start walking away and I'm like, everything's cool. And I'm like, wait, he shoved me in the back. And then it like lit a fire under me, man. It was like,
turn around?
I turned around and I asked him about it. I was like, what was that about? I was like, dude, I just asked you if we're cool and dapped you up. And like, I thought everything was good. And then now you're just going to I turn around and you're going to push me in the back.
Par for the course is Tigerland. No rules. Like
no rules.
Yeah.
Absolutely no rules.
Man. Okay. So my next question, what is your favorite part of doing what you do?
Really just being a podcast host, man. Getting to sit down, talk to different people. I mean, like I said, we got some big guests coming up, and some of these people are people I've dreamed about talking about since I was younger, you know, like, or talking with since I was younger. And to have that opportunity, man, that's what I love about it the most, is just being able to sit down. I mean, even being able to do things like this, man, getting to meet you, it's been great.
Likewise.
I mean, doing this podcast, this is my first time ever being a guest on a podcast, so it's very...
This is a podcast within a podcast.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, I've enjoyed it, though. It's been a great time.
Yeah. So I guess I just blanked out. I had one intermediate question. If I think about it, I'll bring it up. But let's see what. Okay, what is a failure? Maybe not the biggest, but what is one failure that you can think of that you learned something significant from and altered your course or how you did something?
Oh. I mean, as far as biggest failure, I would probably say not being able to release some episodes on time, even if it's not on me. Like, even if like the platform I upload through is not working right, whatever it may be. Like, I think that's the biggest issue that I have with the podcast. Like, if I can't get something out on time, I feel bad about it, you know? And I mean, we try to go Thursday at 7. Every Thursday at 7, we try to release episodes. And sometimes, like, we can't get guests. Like I said, schedules don't align, that type of thing. But, I mean, I think the biggest failure is just when I'm not able to get things out on time.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm letting me down and I'm letting everybody that wants to listen to the podcast down.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so I remembered my question. You've sort of described the growth trend of Tales from Tigerland? You know, y'all started off just with an idea, then you kind of bought a couple mics, and now you're in your third season, and you mentioned a couple times that y'all have some notable guests coming on. What has been the key to getting those guests, to leveling up, I guess I would say? You tell me.
Certainly what I'd say, and I've talked about this a couple of times, is networking. Definitely networking, knowing the right people, and then, again, back to Bogies. Bogies has helped us out with a lot of the guests we've had and a lot of the guests we're going to have, and they've been great to us.
Yeah.
Bogies has helped us out a lot. The main guy there, Clayton, Cab's been on the podcast twice. He's great. Boils some dang good crawfish, man.
They really do.
They do the Bogies crawfish boils. You should, like next spring or whatever, come by. Come check them out.
100%. I love Bogies crawfish.
They're so good, man.
Yeah.
So good. And I was asking him on my podcast, I was like, man, where'd you learn how to boil crawfish? Like, where'd you pick up your recipe at? And I think he said he worked at Don's Seafood for a while. And then did his own little tweak into their recipe and changed it to his way, and
damn good crawfish.
They're kicking, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Super Bowl Sunday was the first time I had him, and I don't know. He does a good job. No, he does a great job.
He's the truth. Whoever's doing him, that must be him. He's the truth.
Yeah, he's on it.
Hell yeah. All right, last question. What's up next for Tales for Tigerland and for Charleston Pain? What is talk to the people, plug your stuff, whatever you got.
So for Tales from Tigerland and for me, the next things to come would definitely be the bigger guests. The guests are going to keep getting bigger, better. More interesting stories. We're going to bring some of the guests we've already had back on, like Cash.
Nice.
We've already talked to him about it. We want to have him back on probably after he releases his album, Pray for Cash.
Yep.
And I heard him talk about it in your episode. The double entendre is crazy. That's so smart, the way he named that album, Pray for Cash. And I've talked to him about that a couple of times. It's
insightful fella.
Definitely. Yeah. He's very, very smart and a very, like you said in the episode, a very lyrical rapper. He's good. Cash is good. Good person too.
So great guy. New episodes coming. New guests that you may be familiar with.
New episodes, new guests that if you're an LSU athletics fan, LSU sports fan, you'll know the names. You'll recognize them. But man, just a new guest. It's going to be great. We're looking to add another microphone into the setup soon.
Oh, cool.
And we're possibly looking into getting a camera because right now we're just strictly listening, audio podcasts. And I've always wanted to add the camera aspect at some point, but just really it's really about the time and everything to edit the video and stuff on top of that. And I'm not video editing. That's not what I do. I don't know if I could do that. I do the sound editing and all that stuff, and it comes out pretty decent most of the time. But as far as video editing, I don't think I could do that. So we got to find somebody that can and then get a camera. So that's another thing. That's what's up next. And yeah, man, just more episodes, more guests. That's basically it.
That's awesome, man. Well, we wish you the best. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, man, absolutely.
Chatting with us. Been great talking to you. Maybe we go get drinks or something at a later date.
For sure.
Eat some crawfish.
Oh,
cut up.
Definitely.
Hell yeah. All right,
definitely got to eat the crawfish. Hey, it was a pleasure to come on.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the Aura Effect podcast. See y'all next week.